What's up, everybody? All right, and welcome back, obviously. So, today I am just going to be going over 10 random films that I think are dope. That's it. So, they're in no particular order. I just happened to, think of a film and then I just thought of 9 more and I wrote them down. So, we're just going to get going in that type of order. So, like I said, these are not in the order of how I may like them, perceive them, anything like that. All right. So, like I said, these are just 10. They all are in the horror and thriller realm. But outside of that, they're just some random films that I thought about yesterday that I liked. So, let's get right on into it. All right. So, number 1 is You'll Never Find Me. That film came out in 2023. It is an Australian psychological horror film. This one is, there's only 2 people. You have 2 people. That's it throughout the whole entire film. They carry it wonderfully. And this movie relies just on the dread and that kind of tension atmosphere that you'll have. It's not on jump scares or anything like that. This is a slow burn. I happen to like slow burns. So if you're not a slow burn person, you might not like probably half at least of the films that I have on this list. So yeah, all right. Another cool thing about You'll Never Find Me is that it is filmed in a single location. It is literally all filmed in a rundown trailer home. That's it. And so you have 2 people, 1 trailer, a stormy night trapped in there, and just a whole lot of paranoia and tension and all this stuff. And it ends, in my opinion, I love the ending of this film. So, all right, that is number 1. So, You'll Never Find Me came out in 2023, like I said. And yeah, if you're into slow burns that just really relies more on like the paranoia and tension, then I highly suggest you check this one out. If you've already seen it, you know what to do. Let me know your thoughts. All right, moving on. All right, so next up on my list is Hell House, LLC. All right, now Hell House at this point already has several films under its belt, okay? But the first one came out in 2015. And even though it is a low budget film, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Is the acting like, huh? No, but that's not what I went into it for. It is a found footage film. I do enjoy found footage films, especially when they're done well. And in my opinion, Hell House LLC is done. I actually happen to like all of the Hell House films. There's even a new one coming out. But yeah, you definitely should start, obviously, with the first. So a couple of the cool things about Hell House that came out in 2015 is it is actually a real location. The hotel that they film in, it is a actual haunted house attraction that is in Pennsylvania, so I want to go. So I think that is cool. So the creepy like vibe and everything that you get in there, it's not set designs, like that legitimately is the place. So I think that's really cool. Another kind of cool thing is, again, it's found footage. It's a group of friends that go to, run, they want to do a haunted house in this haunted, hotel. And they pretty much just improvise their lines throughout the entire thing. So it just kind of feels more authentic. So if you are into found footage, if you're into some clown creepies, stuff like that, haunted houses, definitely check out Hell House. And like I said, you'll be able to check out the whole line. All right, moving on. All right, so next up on my list is kind of another found footage, but this one is a horror comedy. So if you like comedy mixed in with the horror, then I suggest you check out Deadstream. Deadstream came out in 2022. And kind of the cool thing about that is the directors, and the male director is the main character, but the directors actually did a lot of the work themselves. And kind of, did the whole DIY vibe for this film. So that's really cool. It's also a one-man show for the majority of the film. So one of the directors, like I said, he plays our main character, Sean. And yeah, so we just pretty much deal with him going into this haunted house and dealing with all of this wild stuff that happens. This one definitely has, some jump scares to it. And like I said, it does have a lot of comedy mixed in. So if you are not a comedy horror kind of person, if you're one of those that for some reason believes you can't have comedy with horror, you're not going to be into this film. But if you do like those two kind of mixing and mingling, then definitely check out Deadstream from 2022. All right, everybody, let's move on. Next up on my list is a film called Censor. Censor came out in 2021. It is a psychological horror film. And that one takes place like in the 80s, and it is supposed to go off of the video nasty era, where pretty much things were being really censored, highly censored, and there was actual people who would have to watch films first. They would have to watch all of this stuff, then cut it out, deem what could, be seen. So the video is basically on what happens when you are a person who all day long you're watching really horrible content and how it can start to run into your actual life. And this person who, is the censor, it starts to blur like into her reality. So like I said, it really does go off of a real time. So because of that, since it is more of like a period piece, it mimics the grainy and like saturated look from the 80s horror films. I love that type of shit, so that's right up there for me. But one of the cool things is, so the cinematography, literally it kind of slowly shifts. So as our main character's mind starts to unravel, it from like a cold, muted color palette to a dreamlike, oversaturated nightmare. So it's really cool how everything just kind of starts to change color-wise and stuff like that as you go through the film. So this one I love. It really is just kind of like a breakdown on somebody. Yeah, when you see a whole bunch of crazy shit that nobody should be seeing. All right, so like I said, Censor, great film if you are into psychological, mental breakdown, kind of shit. All right? Okay, so let's move on with my 10 random dope films. All right, next up on the list is a movie called Superhost. Superhost came out in 2021. It is a found footage style horror film. It's not full found footage, but it is a found footage style. This one I really like. Honestly, our Superhost in this film steals the show. Her performance is worth watching this movie alone. So Superhost is actually, so the cool thing about Superhost is it is actually shot in a real isolated Airbnb. So Superhost takes place where this couple is going and staying in Airbnbs, and yeah, they go to this particular one, and, let's just say that this Superhost is not super happy with some of, their ratings or things. And like I said, our bad lady in this, the one that owns the Airbnb, her performance it really is phenomenal. So, if you're into psychological, again, if you kind of like that found footage vibe, I really suggest, it's more about like vlogging. It's not found footage, it's like vlogging stuff. But that's what they do. They go to different Airbnbs and, they've ruined a lot of people's Airbnbs with their stuff. So they get a real good match with this one. So I definitely would check out Superhost if you haven't seen it yet. All right, moving on. Checka. All right, next up on my list is a film called Session 9. Session 9 came out in 2001. Bow, 24 years ago. I can't process that now, so I'm going to keep on moving. Session 9 is a psychological horror. It is definitely more of a slow burn. It takes place in a real abandoned asylum that is in Massachusetts. It's the Danvers State Hospital. And it does have quite the dark history. So much of the film's like eerie atmosphere actually is the location itself. It needed no major modifications. It's just real decay, real history, and you just feel that dread. It's shot on early digital cameras. So it has like a nice grainy, washed out and unsettling look that helps the film, obviously. This one was a pretty low budget, obviously not anything close like, to the Velocipaster. But it had a $1.5 million budget. And this was apparently, inspired by the director's fear of insanity. So that he wanted to kind of play around with losing one's own mind. And this film really does do that. So it is an unsettling film, very slow burn. So if you're into that kind of thing, I definitely suggest you check out Session 9. All right, you know what we're doing. We're moving on. We got to keep on moving down this list. All right, everybody. Next up on my list is a movie called Relic. Relic came out in 2020. What do you bet? It's a slow burn. Yes, psychological. I love me some slow burn psychologicals. Fuck with my mind, baby. All right. So it does blend some supernatural in, though, but it really is more of an emotional film. This one really deals... matter of fact, it is inspired by the director's personal experience with her grandmother's dementia. So that really is what this film is actually about, is dementia and what it can do to obviously the person that has it and the family, the people that love them, that are close to them, what it can do to them. And so there's a very strong emotional core throughout this entire film. But it's amazing film. It's a really great film. And I really do, recommend it. This film doesn't, there's not going to be the jump scares or anything else. This film just focuses on dread. It's just this pure creeping in you dread throughout the entire film, all the way to the end. So that's my kind of thing. I love a good jump scare every once in a while. It's fun to just be like, that's great. But to me, what sticks with me the longest is that psychological, that, like I said, that really just mess with your mind, especially when you do get into things like dementia and Alzheimer's, and you put that emotion in there. So I highly suggest checking out Relic if you have not done so yet. All right. Okay. So you know what? Let's move on. Next up on my list is I See You. I See You came out in 2019, and it is a psychological horror thriller. Okay, this one definitely has a lot of twists and turns, though. This one does have some jump scares. It's got, like I said, a lot of twists and turns. It does keep you guessing. So if you like movies where you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming, and you didn't see that coming, then I would check this film out. Because a lot of times when I'm watching movies that are supposed to be, you're not going to see it until the end, I'm like 5 minutes in, I'm like, dude, this is gonna happen. So this one actually did keep me all the way to the end. And then I was like, oh, and yeah, there's some guessing and stuff like that, but that's different than just full on knowing. So, if you like twists and turns and psychological and all that kind of stuff, then I definitely suggest that you check that out. So I see you. All right. Okay. And moving on. Here we go. Next up on my list is a movie called Enter Nowhere. Enter Nowhere is, I think, probably one of the less known ones on here. It came out in 2011. If you can guess, it's a psychological thriller. But it has some mind-bending twists. It also is my only film on here, and very few films that I will ever have, that deals with time loop and parallel realities. Okay, I am not usually a huge fan of those kind of movies. I don't think a lot of times that they're done in the best way. And this one is done really great. Again, this is also a very low budget film. But it does well. The three people that are in it do great. Again, are you going to be, but no, they are solid performances, especially since we're only just going to have those three people. And basically, this film, it's about three strangers finding themselves trapped in a remote cabin. And they're just trying to figure out how they got there, how they can get out. And basically, you really start, like I said, all these twists and turns on. I mean, they just basically have to figure out why they are there. What's their connection with each other, kind of thing. So if you like time loop, if you like, people having to find, like, what do we have connected? What all three of us are here for? Check out Enter Nowhere. All right, last movie on my list, so that's right, number 10, baby, is a movie called Birth, Rebirth, okay? And that one came out in 2023. It is more of a body horror. It has some psychological, it's got supernatural, it's got all that kind of stuff in it. It is heavily inspired by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But it has a very unique modern twist. So instead of like the traditional just reanimation of a corpse, this one is more about experiments and the science of it all, and how you can, kind of preserve, how long can you really preserve life doing some pretty wild things. So it's really just pushing boundaries on what would you do in certain circumstances. This one also deals with very emotional, has emotional ties to it. And so it can be, emotional to watch. I really like it. This one, I guess, is, my only like body horror that I have on here. So if you are into body horror, if you like a Frankenstein kind of tale, if you are into how far would someone go? Because like I said, this one, it really does deal with grief and just the emotional toll that certain things can take. So, all right, Birth, Rebirth on that one. Everybody, I have officially gone over 10 random films that I personally think are dope. So if you have seen any of these films, let me know. If you have not seen any of these films, pick a couple, go check them out, and then let me know. And as always, thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble. Have a great day. Mwah, mwah, mwah.